So I know you sitting there like, well, what does podcasting have to do with me and my business? I'm going to tell you what podcasting has to do with you and your business. If you take a look at your marketing budget, even if you have a marketing, if you don't have a marketing budget, you've already failed. But if you take a look at your marketing budget, and with inside your marketing budget, advertisement, let me rephrase that. If you take a look at your advertising budget and you look at your marketing, if you're a small business, you don't have much money to market, right? So what's the one way that you can get your business in front of thousands of people? Some say YouTube, but YouTube is a great tool. YouTube is definitely a great tool to have. All right. So what's another way? Word of mouth. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Anthony Porter here. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Social Mojo Podcast. In the building today. And check this out. Today, I'm all about helping businesses thrive in this competitive landscape, right? You understand? That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you thrive in this competitive landscape. So the question is what, Anthony, how do you plan on helping most businesses, if not all businesses, thrive today in today's landscape? Well, let's simple. You see, for the past, I want to say 5 years, I've been self-taught. I self-taught myself marketing. I didn't have the money to go to school. So I had to teach myself in order for me to understand what marketing was, what marketing is, and how powerful of a tool marketing is. Like I said, see, for the past 5 years, I started back in, it's been longer than 5 years. I started back in 2016 actually it was 2015 when I first built my first Shopify store. I thought building a store on Shopify was simple, but it really wasn't. It was the fact that I had to understand marketing. So I've seen the powerful trend emerge that can seriously boost the awareness of any customer connection. So once I started marketing, there's many ways that you can market, right? So there's this new trend out, and it's been out for a while. Because even I tried it back in 2015. And that's podcasting. So I know you sitting there like, well, what does podcasting have to do with me and my business? I'm going to tell you what podcasting has to do with you and your business. If you take a look at your marketing budget, even if you have a marketing, if you don't have a marketing budget, you've already failed. But if you take a look at your marketing budget, and with inside your marketing budget, advertisement, let me rephrase that. If you take a look at your advertising budget and you look at your marketing, if you're a small business, you don't have much money to market, right? So what's the one way that you can get your business in front of thousands of people? Some say YouTube, but YouTube is a great tool. YouTube is definitely a great tool to have. All right. So what's another way? Word of mouth. In some of the previous episodes that we've talked about how to use your list of contacts, your email followers. We've talked about how to use them in order for you to get this organic traffic, right? Well, a podcast, which back when I first started, I bombed. Didn't do nothing. I didn't understand. So what did I do over the next 5 years? I've taken and studied some of the best podcasters in the world. And once I started studying these podcasters, I had to realize that they're using this podcast platform to generate content for multiple lead generations. So I got the one, and I'm like, well, let me get back to this podcast thing. So I jumped back in. I started a podcast for my music production, the Beat Profits. Did I? But like I said, everything that you do, you have to be able to grow. You have to be able to understand the marketing aspect. So then maybe a year or two ago, let's fast forward to a year or two ago, after COVID, because I didn't take advantage of the COVID era. After COVID, I started really diving deep back in the market. So I turned back to a familiar face that I came across. That's Russell Brunson. He's the king of ClickFunnels. But he's a marketing genius. Like, he sells funnels without selling funnels. And so I had to think, like, for me, I'm like, okay, well, how do you do this? So I had to do some research. And what I've come to find out is, and maybe you didn't know this, but I sure didn't know this. Like, let me ask, did you know that over 66% of Americans tune into podcasts every single month? Now, that's a massive audience just waiting to be engaged. I'm like, oh my God. So what do you do? How do you do it? So, man, we're not even going to talk about that no more. Here's what we're going to do. Today, we're just going to take and just get right into it, man. Why every business needs a podcast? Why? Why every business? From the corner bakery to the tech setup, why should you consider starting a podcast? We'll explore how podcasts can help you reach, new heights. It can build a rock solid foundation. It can be a rock solid credibility. It can forge a deeper connection with your customer base, with your target audience, with your Dream 100. So if you understand, or you're starting to get the big picture on why you need a podcast, you know what you got to do. Grab that pen, grab that piece of paper. It's time to get some notes in. Once again, we are here. Social Mojo Podcast is back in the building. Let's get it.
Welcome to the Social Mojo Podcast, the place where entrepreneurs and creatives come to discover the secrets behind building a powerful, engaging brand without spending a fortune. Let's meet the host, Mr. Anthony Porter, your guide on this journey to harness the power of organic social media. In each episode, we dive deep into the strategies that work, sharing insights, actionable tips, and success stories from experts and trailblazers who've done it all. From planning your content with precision, growing your audience authentically, to monetizing your passion effectively, we've got you covered. So, whether you're just starting out or looking to elevate your social media game, stay tuned. Because here at the Social Mojo Podcast, we're all about making your brand unforgettable organically.
So listen to me. We have 5, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major reasons why a business should start a podcast. Segment 1, we're going to talk about it. Reason number 1, reach a massive audience and engage listeners on their terms. Here's the thing. When you have a podcast, you have to realize podcasts are now new radio. Remember back, well, if you're old enough to remember, radio is where you heard your favorite song. You did the talk shows, like you heard talk shows like Jim Rome, because I was a sports guy and at work, that's what I used to listen to. Andrew Siciliano. But then these podcasts came along. I'm like, man, don't know if I want to hear this, but what podcast did, it became very popular. It exploded in its popularity. Did you know that, again, 66% of Americans listen to a podcast every single month? That's nearly 2/3 of the population, right? Every month, you got 66% of Americans listening to a podcast. That's a massive pool of potential customers waiting to discover your brand. So whatever brand you have, you have the opportunity to tap in to 66%. That's over maybe God. That's 2/3 of America. We're not talking about the other 5 potential countries of English speaking language. We're talking about Americans. All right. So just think that massive audience right there isn't just a number. See, as podcasters, we offer a unique way to connect with the listeners. So you think about this. Let's say you have a gym, and it's cliche because everyone uses the gym analogy, but it's easy for you to have a gym analogy, or it's easy for you to have a finance analogy. See, for me, I'm trying to teach business owners, or help. I'm not teaching, excuse me. I'm trying to help business owners build their brand awareness through a podcast, start, grow, and scale from an inconsistent income to a possible 6 to 7 figure. Can you imagine adding a couple $1,000s to your income through a podcast? I mean, it's simple to do. And there's so many ways to do it. So you have to think, we have a unique way to connect with the listeners because they're on demand. They're waiting. They're itching. It's like the gambler who's sitting there with that winning ticket in his hand, knowing with 3.5 seconds, all they have to do is inbound the ball. Don't let it get stolen. And that $25 ticket that they put on DraftKings, and shout out to DraftKings, they're not paying me, but I'm giving them some of this information because guess what? I use DraftKings. But they're sitting there basically saying, okay, 3.5 seconds, this $25 ticket, I got a 13-leg parlay. And if these 3.5 seconds go out, I could hit $80,000. Woo! Sweating bullets for these 3.5 seconds is what basically what they're doing. All right. So they're on demand. People can choose what they listen to when they listen to it. See, it's not like the radio stations of yesterday or yesteryear or yestermonth. And I'm not taking nothing away because I still use Sirius Satellite Radio. Shout out to Sirius Satellite Radio. It's not like listening to them because they have a playlist. All right. As a podcaster, we want people to be able to download the podcast and listen to any episode that they choose. Whether they're commuting, working out, or even just chilling at the crib doing chores. A podcast has become your companion. Man, listen, it fits like seamlessly into your busy lifestyle. So picture that, like you're sitting there at home, you're doing your chores, but the Social Mojo podcast, shout out to me, the Social Mojo podcast new episode is talking about funnel building, correct? But you want to know how to make your Instagram profile clickable. And what that means is you want that profile to be able to sell without selling. You want your profile to be right there elite for everyone to see. So you want to go back to hear the information. And maybe within that podcast, there is a guest that will walk you through how to set that up. Or maybe it's just a solo podcast for you entrepreneurs that can tell you how to set that up step by step. And like it's on demand, so you can pause, go to your IG account, start typing in stuff, come back, listen. Oh, I didn't hear that part. Rewind on demand. So podcasts have become the new on demand radio stations, right? So the beauty of this format, again, it allows you to reach a higher engagement of listeners. Unlike scrolling through social media feeds where the attention span are flooded. Like there are so many avenues out there. Like some people just don't understand. Podcast listeners are actively choosing to invest their time in the content. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from the social media people because I'm a social media manager. So outside of the podcast, which is Social Mojo Podcast, Elite Marketing Mojo is my marketing agency. We're in the process right now of starting our funnel building section. We're launching as a social media marketing agency, but the funnel building section is where it's at because a lot of people just don't understand funnels. You don't understand that you need a funnel, but podcast, you definitely need one. And why you need a podcast is because I'm telling you, listen, when you're talking about that massive audience reach, you're talking about reaching across the global waters. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different countries. And if your product, your content is very good and they download it, then guess what? That means they can come back and listen to it, right? So, I mean, it's just that simple. So, as we conclude the first segment, it's understanding that reaching a massive audience is the goal for your brand, for your business, for your content. Podcasting is the new on-demand radio station. And for you to take advantage of reaching, first of all, with the organic traffic, not only organic traffic, but it's truly cost efficient. See, that's something nobody wants to tell you because you can start a podcast with a laptop, a USB mic, and learning how to upload things. We'll get into that, but little or nothing for real. That's the hobbyist. If you're doing it as a business, you might want to invest a little bit, but ain't that much. Oh, that was terrible English. It isn't that much. So just think about that. As we go into segment number 2, before we get to talking about segment number 2, let's think about this. Segment number 2 is becoming an industry authority through podcasts. Ponder that. This is another reason why you need a podcast. Y'all stay tuned. In the immortal words of the grandchildren, yo, 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 yo. I'm just playing with y'all. Yeah, we're back. Segment 2, becoming the industry authority through podcasting. Now imagine this. If you're sitting there, you're listening, you're working out, you're riding your motorcycle, your scooter, you're at work, you're getting through your day, right? Imagine this. You have a direct line to share your experts and insights with the captivated audience. You have a direct line to share your knowledge. And podcasts, you use your knowledge as great value. Because once you give value and somebody can understand what, the value that you're offering, That becomes a powerful business tool. With that being said, that becomes a powerful business podcast. See, podcasts allow us to shed the traditional marketing approach and instead establish yourself as a leader within your industry. So for me, it's social media management and podcasting. See, I'm trying to help businesses and entrepreneurs build their brand awareness through social media and podcasting and go from a inconsistent income to a 6 to 7 figure business without the hassle of breaking the bank. So I had to decide, is that worthy enough? And yes, it's worthy enough, because getting you to understand that a podcast needs to be used for your business was perfect. It was a no-brainer for me. So by dedicating a platform to discuss relevant topics, sharing valuable tips, I mean, if for me, it's giving out information. I come from an era where people don't want to share, they want to sell. Now, there's nothing wrong with making money, but sometimes you can give away some information. And once you give away that information, it comes back full circle to you. Now, when you're sharing these valuable tips, you're offering solutions to mostly everybody's common pain point. See, everybody has a problem. Some people can't generate leads. Some people can't generate sales. Well, if you can't generate leads, you're not going to get sales. The funnel sucks. The marketing sucks. So you have to demonstrate your deep understanding of that field. So for me, social media. And it's crazy because everybody's on social media. Instagram and Meta, which is owned by Meta, the two itself, 3.5 billion users. And probably 277 million on at any given second of the day. Think about that. 277 million people starving for information, because this is the era of digital content. TV shows, if you pay attention, I'll see more actors, actresses on social media doing anything. You have true crime, you have informational, you have people like the Shade Room. Shade Room lets us reach on social media, lets us reach clear across the United States and find out, clear across the world and find out what's going on with everybody. We knew Diddy was on the run before Diddy knew he was on the run. We had the case cracked of OJ when all of his memorabilia, not the murder trial. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the memorabilia after he got out. We had the case cracked before he knew he had the case cracked. So social media, these platforms, this consistent flow of valuable content positions you as a trust resource, someone with the knowledge and experience to guide potential customers through. So the Shade Room guides us through the lifestyle of the rich and the famous. But there are people like Russell Brunson, Nehemiah Davis, the Wall Street Trapper, Gary Vee, Pat Flynn. Oh, I love Pat Flynn. Trust me. Pat Flynn's podcast is one of the main reasons why I started podcasting. I stumbled across him on YouTube. And he was teaching how to be like Tim Ferriss. And then there was Joe Rogan. But then you have in my culture, the hip hop community, podcasts start popping up like Drink Champs, $1 million worth of gaming. Boy, I love watching Gilly and Wallow. They are hilarious, but I like it because they have an edge to it. But what they're showing you is they are the industry standard. They are in their particular, what they're talking about in their particular field, they are the authority figures. Joe Budden's podcast is dope. Mav Hoffa. Have they taken advantage of their celebrity? Maybe. Who cares? They're giving you what you want. They're giving you access to superstars digging into their lives that you don't want, that you would necessarily not have. So you have to think about that. I'm able to understand what Jada Kiss and his father started the Kiss Cafe. I would have never known that. He's from Yonkers. I'm from Louisville. So that content helps me understand. It helps me reach. They become the authority figure with their podcast. So, but that authority building doesn't stop there, because podcasts offer a fantastic opportunity to leverage your credibility to others by interview industry leaders. Again, listen to what I just said. Wallow, Gilly, and all of them. Every one of these Drink Champs, every one of them. Their podcasts, they interview industry standards. I like Mav Hoffa because Mav Hoffa gets you in the barbershop and he talks to you. Now, you might not like Mav's podcast. I like it. I actually love it. I tune in. The most recent episode that I caught up with Mav on was Joyner Lucas. Too smart. Him and his manager. Shout out to them cats, man. They seen something and they figured it out. They figured out, hey, we need to get away from some certain things. But Mav's podcast is teaching you how to be a boss. If you listen to Dame Dash on some of his interviews, a lot of people say Dame Dash, Mr. Dash is arrogant. No, Mr. Dash is probably the smartest hustler you ever seen in this industry. He's giving you what Gilly and Wallow call their podcast, $1 million worth of game. He's educating you. If you just listening to the podcast and you're not taking in what they're saying, that's where the actionable traits come into effect. When you're listening on these podcasts, you got to be able to take in that game. You have to take in what they are talking about. So podcasts, like I said, they offer credibilities for others. You interviewing the industry leaders, respected figures in your niche. You are not only gaining access to the wealth of knowledge, but you are also gaining credibility by association. So for me, I'm an old hip hop head. My ties, I'm learning to like the new music, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. It's just it took me a while to learn to like it. So Gilly and Wallow invited an artist from my city, ESTG, to Philly. Now ESTG's been on multiple podcasts, but Gilly and Wallow took him to Philly. Now, his story is a lot different than a lot of other people's stories. Like, he was a superstar football player that took a turn down a different path. It's not my story to tell. I just respect the hustle. If you pay attention, like I said, ESTG went to Philly. They brought him in. Not only did it help ESTG sell a couple million more records, but just hanging out with these cats and they giving you the blue check, they giving you the verification that you certified as an artist. And I mean, dude been knocking it out the park for a while. I'm just, like I said, I'm just not catching up with some of his music. And that's not hate. That's not hate at all. I don't have ties like it. What I have ties is I want to hear good music. Dude's been knocking out some good music. But that association with these podcasts have helped with their credibility. Most artists who don't understand that. Most people, they look at it, he interviewed this cat, man, whatever. I'll tell you another podcast, and we're going to move forward because it's funny because 85 South Show, they got a podcast. And, man, I kid you not, they had Jack Harlow on there, another guy from Louisville. Now, there's a lot of hate for Jack in the city because, first of all, he's a white MC. Who cares? My guy got bars. And then there was a slight incident that happened. I'm not going to say slight. It was an incident that happened with his DJ. And again, that's not my story to tell. It's on the internet. You want to know about it, look it up. But there's a lot of people that chose sides. Everybody has their opinion. Okay? Everybody has their opinion. Now, the one thing that I will say about this is they chose sides, and you can tell that a lot of the people here was like, well, what about such and such? Bryson Tiller. Because, see, Jack got a mural. They hang murals of all the important people in the city. Well, Jack got a mural. His picture's hanging on the side of a building. Then they got to hollering about, well, what about Bryson Tiller? What about Static Major? Static was my guy. We went to school together. I remember when Static wrote a lot of music that really came to play when he was working with Missy Elliott and Timbaland. And I'm not throwing names out for clout. Static Major. I'm not going to give his government name. God rest the dead. It's my guy. Player. Shout out to Digital Black. Smoke Digger. Me and Static I used to bang on the tables while he sat there and he was doing his thing. Most of the music you heard was done in high school. A lot of the concepts, I ain't gonna say the music, the concepts. Listen to my heartbeat. Boy, I tell you, excuse me, I'm not a singer. But that right there, that concept was something different in high school. We did a talent show together. So shout out to my guy. But Jack had people pushing him. Black, Static, and Smoke. They was before Jack. So now when you're talking about the knowledge of a podcast, you have to think about this. If Static was still alive, because a lot of people know Static from Lollipop with Lil Wayne. But they're asking these questions without knowing the full ramification. But again, Jack has been on podcasts and his credibility is shot up. New Balance deal. He's handing out shoes to unfortunate kids, youth. He's performing with the likes of Drake. He films his videos in his hometown. I mean, but the credibility comes from him being on podcasts. So the listeners will perceive your show. And this is why this is so important, because I know it sounds like I got off topic, but I didn't. You have to go into the realm of what you know and what you love. If your brand is clothing, you got to relate clothing to hip hop. If your brand, everything is related. I don't care what you say. But you have to understand your listeners will perceive your show to be a trustful source, trusted source, because you are connected to other extreme individuals. That's the reason why. That's the reason why I went out the way I did. So the interview strategy allows you to tap into a wider audience. Because see, you're basically doing what you need to do. You interview somebody. Pro tip. You interview somebody. You chop up the interview. You send them a few clips. You let them know, if you do this interview, boost your social media, help me out, boost my social media, post these. We're going to go from there. You become the expert. Not only did you just give maybe 5 or 6 clips of the interview, for a social media status. But once people start seeing, oh man, you interviewed Digital Black and Smoke Digger, who are now members of Drew Hill. Oh, your credibility can skyrocket now. So I know I went a little long on that segment. I had to because that segment was important for you to understand when you're building the trust, becoming the authority in your podcasting network. We're going to take a quick break. Come back. We're going to talk about forging a deeper connection with your customers. That's in segment 3. Y'all stay tuned. Back. Reason number 3, which is segment number 3. Reason number 3, forging a deeper connection with your customers. Hey, forget about the impersonal ads, the generic marketing messages. Forget all of that. Podcasting offers a chance for you to truly connect with your customers on a deeper level. Dig deep. Let's get with it. Unlike the traditional advertising, this is what podcast is. This is what I've been trying to tell y'all. It was everything we talked about leads up to this. Podcasting is not your traditional advertising platform. It offers that often feels like you're just shouting into a void. Trust me, podcasts create more intimate and engaging experiences. See, when you hear things, like if you hear things over and over and over again, see, the power of audio is undeniable. So, like when you hear something, think about this. When you're listening to your favorite artist and you hear the song over and over and over again, you begin to memorize it, right? When Nike first came out and all you kept hearing was "Just Do It," you knew who they was talking about. Somebody got to just do it. Nike, yeah. But if you have a distinct voice, that human voice has a unique ability to convey emotion, humor, and authenticity. Through the podcast, you could literally share your brand. You can share your brand story, your core values, your passion in a way that resonates with your listeners. Boy, I'm telling you, you can tell your story the way you want to tell your story, uncut, raw, to the edge, boom, bap, we out of there. You feel me? You don't have to be on the, I'm not going to say the FCC rules. You don't have to be on the, where you got to, hi, my name is. No, be yourself. Do you, but offer value. Because it's just always not about selling products. You could actually be on, have a podcast and sell products and services without selling products and services. Really, we're building a relationship. And trust me, we're forcing the trust. If you feel like the information that is being given and you like it, guess what happens? They begin to trust you. So for your brand, your business, if you have a podcast, and listen to me, let me say this. Pro tip number 2 for the day. Don't just sit there and think that all of this is going to happen overnight, because it's not. All right, don't sit there and think all of this is going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to understand it takes time. But you have to understand this, that one of the key things, and I talked about this in one of the previous episodes, called statement. S is for storytelling. Tell your story, because storytelling is a key ingredient in this connection. People buy off emotion. By weaving narratives into your podcast, You can now add value that you offer into, insert, put together, showcase real world applications of your expertise, and create a sense of reliability with your audience. So if I'm sitting here and I'm giving you everything that you need in a box through my podcast, but you can't visually see it, it's there for you for the taking, right? That information is right there. So if that information being right there, what does that tell you? People connect through stories. People connect through emotion. And when people start to connect with you, they become, guess what? Your biggest advertisement tool. Because now these folks are your brand advocates. Now these folks are telling their friends, hey, you might want to check this out. Check out this product. It helped me add a couple $100 a week to my already slim paycheck. This little side hustle here. Or, hey, I made an extra $10K a month. Things like that. People, you see those advertisements on YouTube. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm doing that for you. No, I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is you see these videos, earn an extra $500 a day. And then you go in there, they give you a little bit of information, and then all of a sudden they sell you a course. Podcast, you could literally teach somebody how to do lead generation through your podcast. They want that genuine bond with the customers. They want that genuine bond with you. They want the genuine bond with the authority figure, because that helps transform them from a passionate listener to a loyal brand advocate. Oh, I think I just said that. So you have to understand, once you get to the point where your Dream 100, your target audience knows that you are the authority figure, oh my God. Now the scaling comes in, because you can start and grow, but scaling is where you really survive in your business. All right. We're midway through. And I hope that you are gaining some of this knowledge. I hope you are really taking in what we're talking about. Because see, now in segment 4, we're going to talk about boosting. Boost your brand without breaking the bank. See, we talked about that in the beginning. See, that's part of my motto. I help business owners go from inconsistent income to a possible 6 or 7 figure business organically without breaking the bank. When we come back, we're going to talk about boosting your brand without breaking the bank. See y'all in a second. All right, y'all, this is going to be one of those quick segments here. Boosting your brand without breaking the bank. Let's face it, marketing budgets are getting tight. They can be tight. You pinch a penny, robbing Peter to pay Paul. But the beauty of a podcast is there are no more cost-effective ways. There's nothing surprising about this. You can reach a vast amount of audience, a vast amount of people through a podcast. So compared to your traditional avenues of advertisement, like paid media, print media, television, Think about it. Super Bowl budget was $1 trillion. For Budweiser to do an ad for 30 seconds was a little over 5 to 6 million, I think. There's a lawyer from the city of Louisville who bought an ad, probably 30-second ad. It cost him $2 million. So I think the budget for Budweiser was a lot more. I'm sorry. So podcasting requires just a small, significant investment, not much. You probably start a podcast, hobbyist podcast, for a little under $1,000. Professional, you're gonna, if you're not a hobbyist and you want this to be about your business, you're gonna invest a little money, but that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice quality for affordability. You don't need to do that. The great thing about podcasting is it is scalable. You can start a podcast with a basic setup, a decent mic, some editing software, and a quiet space, a laptop if you already have it. See, some things you probably already have. So you can literally, like Audacity is free. If you have a computer, you've already paid that forward. Probably go on Amazon and buy a USB mic and plug it in. And you just need a quiet space in your house. And you can start your first podcast. Get you some headphones and you in business. All right. There are even free recording and editing tools available. Like I just said, like some people use Adobe Audition. I just happen to be in music, so I have a lot of the tools already. I edit my video podcast with DaVinci Resolve. I use Logic Pro for my audio. And so, it's you have to understand that you can start on a budget and scale it up. You don't have to break the bank to start out. Just start on a budget and scale it up. So as your podcast grows, your budget allows you to grow. You can always invest in high quality tools as you grow. So understand this. Trust me. I told you this was going to be short because we just wanted you to understand what was going on. The key takeaway for this is you do not need Hollywood sound stage to launch a successful podcast. Most of your most successful podcasters was started inside a bedroom. I don't need an office. I have an office. All right. So with a little creativity and resourcefulness, you can create high quality content that engages your audience, strengthens your brand, all without breaking the bank. That's it. Nothing else. We talk about boosting without breaking the bank. So, again, last break, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going to go into one podcast, Endless Marketing Mileage. That's segment number 5. Y'all stay tuned. All right, here we go. Last but not least, this is one of the most important. Just because it's last does not mean it's not important. Here's the thing about podcasting. We talk about a lot today, right? They are a gift that keeps on giving. So the valuable content that you create doesn't have to live solely in the confines of your podcast episode. The beauty, listen to what I'm saying. The beauty of this format lies in the potential to repurpose into a variety of marketing assets. So basically what that is like with me, I shoot videos. So I have a video podcast and I have an audio podcast. I upload the audio podcast, I upload the video podcast. The video portion is I use snippets from the video to go and post on my YouTube channel, my Facebook channel. But then I just realized that I could take the long form podcast and chop them up into 5 or 6 minute videos for each segment. Now I have an endless amount of YouTube videos that I can upload. I can't forget about posting my shorts and those reels. So I have shorts for TikTok. Shorts for TikTok, shorts for reels, and shorts for YouTube. So one video, if I have 6 chopped up Instagram, TikTok reels, and shorts, now I have 6. So that's 6, 12, 18 pieces of content. So 6 videos now becomes 18 repurposed pieces of content. All right. Then I have the audio, so that's 19. Now, the long form video is 20. But because I have 5 segments for YouTube, now that's 25. So one video has created 25 pieces of content. And I can also add the videos to Facebook. I could add the shorts to Facebook Reels, Facebook Stories, Instagram Stories. It's endless marketing mileage. It doesn't just stop there. So imagine transforming your moments from your podcast into bite-sized social media snippets. Just talk about it. Eye-catching quotes. You can take some of the quotes that we talk about or you talk about, and now you can put those quotes, type them out, put them on Twitter. That's another platform. All right. You got some insightful sound bites. Listen, that goes well. Sound bites go well. Key takeaways can be packaged as engaging video clips for social media posts. Man, you just extended your reach and spark conversations on all different platforms. Whatever platform you on, start with one, focus on the others in the short term. You can even transcribe your episodes. Now, again, remember, we're already probably up to about 45, right? We haven't even gotten into subscribing and transforming your... I said subscribing, sorry. Transcribing your long-term video and creating a blog post. Taking that blog post, because I do this too, and creating a newsletter. Your content has now become the go-to for your search engine. So when you have your SEO rich content, you're easier to find on Google. You have now become the landscaper. You've probably got 80 pieces of content and never even realized. So as a business, one video can generate 80 pieces of content, which further establishes you as the industry authority figure. So podcasts, by their very nature, are long-form content that offers a significant advantage in today's SEO landscape. Search engines favor websites with in-depth informative content. Your podcast, trust me, your podcast transcripts provide just that by creating valuable long-term content like a podcast and repurposing it into a strategically boosting roadmap. Your website's ranking, and searchability, attracting organic traffic and potential customers who are seeking that niche. Man, you just blew that out the water. Trust. So in the words of people like myself, in a lead gen situation, it's a win-win for brand awareness and lead gens. So let's talk about that. 80 pieces of content off of one video. at most. Can you imagine? Because see, you want to be a millionaire. Content creator, you made a podcast, you got all of this content. Guess what? Now you're monetizing. Now you're getting paid. And the more you start putting this out there, the more people start reaching out for collaborations, sponsorships. Think about it. All right. So when you unleash the power of podcasting for your business, hey, it is a beautiful thing. It took me to episode 6 to realize I forgot all about it. So, there you have it. We've explored 5 compelling reasons for every business, regardless of the size of the industry, should seriously consider launching a podcast. From reaching a massive audience to building an unshakable credibility to fostering a deeper customer connection and maximizing your marketing budget, podcasts offer a unique and powerful way to elevate your brand. Now it's your turn. I've given you the blueprint. I've walked you through the blueprint. Now it's time for you to take action. Take some time to brainstorm podcast ideas. Now, tell you what I'm going to do for you. How about, for free, I put together, because see, this is the age of AI, right? How about I put together a little package for you? Just something small to help you brainstorm ideas for your podcast, show you how to, using ChatGPT or Gemini from Google. I like Gemini because it's connected to the internet. But these prompts can help you. Put together a little something for you. All right. So the good news is, if you want to reach your target audience, this is where you do it at. You got the valuable insights you can share. This is where you do it at on a podcast. Like I said, the good news is you don't have to navigate the podcasting world alone. There are a wealth of resources available online, from websites offering step-by-step tutorials to communities dedicated to helping you become an inspiring podcaster. Like I said, I got a little something for you, a little free something. I get to. So, with that being said, in the description below, we're gonna leave a link. And with that link, it might not be in the description on the YouTube video. It might be on the YouTube podcast. I'm sorry. It might be in the comment section. We'll pin it. See if we can't pin it in the comment section. But we want you to have these tools so you can use in order for you to get the ball rolling with your business. All right. I hope everything we gave to you today was as exciting as for me to give it to you. Follow us on the social media platform, Instagram. We are at Social Mojo PC. Same as on Twitter, same as on Facebook. Connect with us. Just connect with us. We do a lot of development, mind, and acting silly because they want to see the human side up. We want to give you the human side up. All right. Don't forget to unleash the podcast potential for your business. It's your man Anthony Porter here, Social Mojo Podcast. It's been real, guys. Thank you for stopping by. I'm gonna see y'all when I see y'all. Peace.